What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? I hope everybody's doing well today. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to get back rolling here with another Tough Talk live show. We see we got a bunch of people here with us already. Appreciate y'all already saying, hey, make sure again, if you haven't already commented, say just check in, say, hey, what's going on and all that. But again, today we have a very exciting show. Again, we're going to get down to some nitty gritty here. It's a topic which I think all NC State fans are all too well aware, which is, we always blow on every single year. So we're going to kind of dive deep into that and see if we can get rid of that once and for all, but also to also break down the ACC preseason rankings as well, ACC preseason teams and all that jazz. But first of all, again, we got obviously Greg the Leg, Michael Tracy, and Mackenzie Blackwater here with us. And then Macon Ave should be joining us here momentarily, but appreciate all y'all tuning in. So, but with that being said, we'll head right on over here real quick to our Tuffy's Weekly Rewind. So with that being said, here we go. All right. So with that being said, first of all, again, we want to go ahead and say hey to those people in the chat. So Major Wolf, Benjamin, Mark, Benjamin said, I know Justin is happy today. Yes, obviously, with the getting of a huge 6'5" right-hander pitcher. That should be huge coming in. I know Justin was actually messaging us saying it was a big deal. So if Justin says it's a big deal, it's a big deal, folks. I'll just go ahead and say that right there. And then I see Hunter, and then Mark says, go Pack. I love it. And then also David Jones says, hey, from David from Smithfield. So appreciate David tuning in. But so, yeah, jumping right into that, obviously one of the biggest pieces of news I wanted to jump into was obviously men's basketball got quite a treat for filling its 12th scholarship spot. With again, a center, I think that all of us could say it's, first of all, I mean, I'm curious, Michael, I know that, you probably could talk a little bit about this, but do we think that Kevin Keats is kind of understanding that maybe we need to have more height in order to compete, specifically in the ACC? Because I know that typically that's not something that Keats usually has, is so many centers or people with height on the team. I mean, typically it's usually a guard-heavy roster, but I think right now, I mean, he's got probably 3 or 4, maybe even more big men on the roster right now. So it's definitely an odd roster setup so far for Kevin Keats.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more about depth, really. Obviously, we saw that last year with Manny going down. Like, I highly doubt we'll see the team come out next year with like two and play 3 guards and like 2 big men. I assume it'll still somewhat be, the 3 guards and then a wing who can handle the ball, and then rotate through at the 5. But yeah, I think this is a good pickup for depth for sure, especially after what we saw happen last year.
Absolutely. I think we got Macon joining in with us finally. So Macon, what's going on?
Fashionably late, guys. I'm sorry.
5 demerits.
I like Mackenzie's solo back there.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
That's what we said.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's what we said. So speaking of Macon, so we were just talking about our new center.
Hold on. How does he get to go next when he's late?
Oh, you're right, Greg. I'm sorry. Macon, shame on you. Greg wants to get in there, so Greg, go, brother.
Oh, I got nothing. No.
Okay. All that. Oh man.
No, I'm with Michael. This is more of a depth thing, future project.
Well,
I know he did reclassify to get into this year, but I would honestly be surprised if he sees the court for more than 2 or 3 minutes a game, if that. Maybe some garbage mop up time, but. I like where this direction is going. It's something that we haven't had the luxury of in the last probably 2 or 3 years. So maybe it's a change of philosophy. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just something else. Maybe it's just because we got new recruiting guys and they have maybe, had some influence on some thought process. But I'm excited. I know the game is, stretch and, got big guys shooting, but I'm a big guy. I like the big guy inside game. So I'm all for it.
Well, the thing, I'm going to step in.
Go.
We're talking about Traore, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Matty Traore. Yeah.
Matty or whatever is Traore. So that guy gets me really excited, more than a lot of other guys we've gotten so far in this class. And the reason why is I really think he can guard almost all 5 positions. And if you go look at his highlight film, he can, like you mentioned, the stretch play. Like he may be the most versatile player we have coming as a freshman coming in. As a freshman, I mean, there's other players who are very versatile too, but you can't teach 6'11". You can't teach that. And his length and his ability to handle the ball at that size, I wonder did you guys discuss it? I wonder if the reason why he couldn't come in was because of grades, or what was it? Did you guys talk about that at all? Or
I know he came in from a prep school, and I know he's only been in the country a couple of years, I think. So
I saw one post say that maybe the reason why he didn't get a ton of pulls because he fell out of like the top 150 ranked kids or something like that. But he excites me. I'm not saying he's ready. I saw another place say he may need a red shirt just to get some muscle, get his game conditioned a little bit. But he excites me for his potential. Very high ceiling.
Mackenzie, anything to add on that before we move on?
Like basically what everybody said. I feel like it's a luxury that we haven't had, like Greg said. So I feel like it's going to be really interesting for us fans to be able to it's going to be different in state basketball than we're used to. And I think that we're all wanting that to see what happens. And I want to acknowledge David's comment. Manny was also very upset that we didn't draw Butler to play. But he thinks we'll beat Kansas and play them. So we'll see what happens.
Well, and that was going to be the next topic, obviously talking about the battle for Atlantis announcements of that. We are facing the defending national champions, Kansas, on November 23rd at noon on ESPN. Greg is obvious mixed emotions there from Greg the Leg. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, just because I've kind of heard this, and it's kind of a similar thing. But so a lot of talk is going on right now with Icky, with the Panthers, because apparently people are saying that they actually might wait to start Icky because specifically the first game is against the Browns. And so it's like, do you really want Icky to face
Myles Garrett?
Oh man, Myles Garrett, his first ever NFL game. And it's like, well, to me, it's like, hey, throw him in the fire. Let's see what happens.
Hero sacks game.
Awesome. Hey. Well, that's what I'm saying. That could be a statement game.
I mean, you're paying the guy, so.
Well, that's what I mean. You drafted him 6 overall. You're not going to put him on the bench,
right? Don't make him sit the bench.
Yeah. If he's the best player for left tackle, right? You're going to play him. So who cares? So
right, exactly.
Yeah. Otherwise, it could get worse. Could be worse.
Right. So kind of a similar deal here, where it's like, hey, it's early in the season. Why not go ahead and put ourselves against, probably one of the best basketball teams that men's basketball has to offer this year. I don't know. I mean, well, let's see what happens. What's the worst thing that can happen? I mean, we have nothing to lose, but everything to gain. That's really kind of, where my head is at. But I mean,
this is like the football version of We Want Bama, right?
But we didn't ask for him. We don't want.
We didn't. I know.
No, we didn't ask for him, but it would have been. It's kind of funny. I wonder if that went into decisions at all when it came to pairings, so that they didn't put us against Butler, because holy smokes, could y'all imagine if we
I don't even want to think about it. I'm so glad we didn't pair, because and
just for those who don't know, real quick before Greg responds, is that so basically for those who don't know, for some reason Manny Bates transferred the longtime in-state center to Butler, so we would have potentially faced Manny Bates. That would have been interesting. So Greg, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add, I'm genuinely curious to how they do the draw, right? Like, do they literally just put names in a hat and, go from there? Do they look at TV matchups? Like, I would be curious as to the thought process on like these kind of invitational type tournaments. And they never really talk about it, but it was just kind of one of those, I'm just curious.
Yeah. And so for those who are tuning in with us too, I want to kind of hear your comments as well. Would you rather face the defending national champion Kansas Jayhawks, or would you rather face Butler and face Manny Bates again? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'll take Kansas.
Okay.
We're talking about we've talked about for the last couple of weeks all about this conference realignment and growing the brand, and that's how you grow the brand, by playing big time teams on national TV. So I'll take Kansas.
ESPN.
I will say, if your aspirations are the NCAA tournament, Kansas does much better for your resume than Butler will. So
absolutely,
and we need everything we can get based on our other out of conference schedule. So there's
that's true.
That's a big week, right? It's the 23rd of November, and then we play Carolina that Friday, and also USA versus England in the World Cup that Friday too.
Well, let's not forget about that.
Oh, geez. So Rusty asks, well, so here, I'll get back to you, Rusty, but Major Wolf said Butler would have been a primetime game. Well, I mean, it's 12 o'clock ESPN, so I mean, it's still a prime slot. So, I mean, it's right there. And then Kathy Smith says Manny, so calling out for Butler. But Rusty asked the question, will Tuffy Talk be greeting folks at the Charleston Southern game, maybe sign some autographs? I mean, we'll be around. I will go ahead and say it right now. I'll go ahead and admit it to everybody. I'm going to come clean to everybody right now publicly that I unfortunately will not be at the Charleston Southern game, as we have a family wedding that we have to go to.
Yeah, where's the soundboard?
Well,
make it sounded better than the soundboard.
Well, but the two reasons why I agreed to it was, first of all, because it's Charleston Southern. We have their quarterback. We got it. And then also, too, it's a new slot. So, I mean, more than likely, unless, they decide to do it anyway, we're not going to see the red lights the first game, assuming that they're going to do it in the middle of the day. So I'm like, okay, fine. But also, hey, come on. No. Now, here's one thing, though. I've convinced my wife, though, that because the wedding's not until later. So we are literally going to go tailgate dressed up in our wedding stuff. So we're literally going to be tailgating in suits and dress, man.
Bro, it's going to be like 100 degrees out there.
Yeah. I don't care, man.
I'm going to hit the button and go, I'm going to hit for this button and go, bruh.
Hey, man, I don't care. Hey, just like you said, hey, I'm making a statement. What can I say? So
skip the wedding.
No,
I know, right?
Leighton.
I did that with my best friend's wedding for the Wake Forest game 2 years ago.
Well, that's different. That's Wake Forest.
But hey, at this point, Leighton, I don't think I'm going to be at that game either. I will be at the Texas Tech game though. So
cool.
I think I'm going to. I'm debating. always, and like for me, I'm always at the first game at home. But
yeah.
We need new hosts.
Well, I either way, Rusty, there will be members of Tuffy Talk there, and we will, and Greg, yes, of course, but yes, we will be there at every other game. Don't you worry. I
already have my menu for tailgating already done. So
ooh, there we go.
Here you go.
So you by themes, right?
What's that?
You go by themes, right?
Yeah.
So it's the Pirates, right, or the something like that.
That's for ECU, but I mean the first home game.
What is the mascot of Charleston Southern again? I thought it was like
it's a Buccaneer. Yeah, it's true. It is a pirate. Yeah, I was. Yeah,
yeah. Fair enough.
We're not doing anything for them. Like it's there's nothing to get excited about.
Hamburgers.
So.
Yeah. Bring your own beer.
Gotcha.
Yeah, literally the one good player they had, we took from them. So.
Right.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So.
Funny thing, maybe sad if we didn't even play him one snap, and it's like, he's your best player. And he comes to our team and
doesn't even play.
I think
I would laugh if we actually started him.
They're gonna let him play.
I would laugh if we rolled him out there the first snap. What's the over/under on that?
I don't know.
I don't think it's been released yet, but
no,
that won't happen.
Oh,
you don't think so?
100% not. No.
No
way.
Okay.
That won't happen. I don't think that'll happen.
Anyway, all right. So
what insult would that be in poor sports to be like, first snap, we got you guys. That would not happen.
That'd be bad. All right. So Hunter Smith says yes because our schedule needs some strength. We might be sneaky good this year. I mean, I completely understand with the sneaky for sure, but I mean, in terms of schedule needs some strength. I mean, the in-conference schedule, though, again, folks. I mean, I know the out-of-conference is definitely, pretty overall, not that too much challenging, but still, man. I mean, you're facing UNC, who's going to be preseason more likely #1 team in the country twice. You're facing Duke. You're facing a studded ACC schedule. So, I mean, I wouldn't say our schedule needs some strength. I would say the out-of-conference schedule, just to clarify, out-of-conference schedule needs some strength. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, we played 20 ACC games now. That changed 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So
that's right. Yeah. And then in terms of how the invitational works, I don't know if you guys know, but because is it an actual
Yeah. Back to
basketball.
Follow the ping pong ball.
Yeah. So David asked, how many games are we guaranteed in that tournament? So is it a tournament? Okay, it's two games.
No, I think it's 3.
Is it 3?
I think it's 3. It's set on the schedule 3, so I'd assume
Okay.
you're guaranteed 3.
Okay.
All right.
There you go. 3 games. And I mean, again, you got.
I was going to say they play it out, so you end up being like the 5th or 6th place team. I think they play it all the way out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
If you win, you play the winner's bracket. You lose, you go in the loser's bracket. But either way, I think you get it 3 games.
So not to say we couldn't face Butler down the road. So
yeah,
I mean,
we could.
You know, I mean, because there's 8 teams: Butler, BYU, Dayton, Kansas State, USC, Southern California, Tennessee, and Wisconsin. So I mean, Wisconsin would be very interesting. Tennessee would be interesting. Kansas, Butler would be interesting. Dayton would be, you know, I mean, Dayton's
decent.
They're solid. Yeah,
Dayton's solid. And so Southern California. And I mean, I don't know much about BYU's program, but even still. So I mean, again, it should be an interesting tournament to start off the season for sure.
Yeah.
So and also too, Major Wolf makes a prediction saying that first play of Charleston Southern, I'm assuming is what you're saying, it will be a play action pass touchdown.
Well, go route. A go route by who?
Or go route. Yeah, a go route.
Thankfully, Brad Davidson's gone.
I hated him. Oh my
God. Great day, Tar Heel. Our one UNC friend account that NC State can somewhat deal with.
Stomach.
Ask the question: Will Brad Davidson take a charge if you play Wisconsin? I mean, like the ghost of Brad Davidson. Will you like all these State fans will just see a ghost of Brad Davidson just taking charges every single time a State fan goes to the basket.
Phantom charges at that.
He did on April Fool's Day. They did he released a video saying he got a 7th year of eligibility, and so many people believed.
I saw that. I got
one. I got a burn for you. Brad Davidson takes phantom charges like Carolina players take phantom classes. Oh.
You need the
I know. I have it today. So with that being said, though, we're going to finally jump into the meat of what we're looking forward to talking to here. And with that being said, we're going to jump over to Tuffy's Tweet of the Week. Here we go. All right. So with that being said, let me make sure I have it queued up correctly before I show the wrong ones in the wrong order. Don't want that. All right. So Josh Goodson, the man, the myth, the legend, that State fans know all too well, who's also with the Pack of Wolves crew. So make sure, first of all, to check them out as well. If you haven't already joined the Pack of Wolves NIL Collective, make sure to go and do that for, it's a very, very cheap price. Again, goes a long way to support our student athletes. All right. So now his tweet says, many people want to predict State to have a good season because of returning production, good players, quarterback, etc. That makes sense. So, the same people then want to say, and I quote, but I think they will lose to Team X just because that usually happens, end of quote. And then Josh finishes by saying, under Dave Doran, State is 5-0 straight up, win road favorites over 10 points. So this is an ECU tweet. Is what this is. It's an ECU tweet because ECU. Yeah. The last time I saw, we were favored by 11 to 11.5, depending on where you looked. I saw 10 today. 10 points today. So maybe we're down a little bit. Okay. So either way, so basically under Dave Doran, that NC State has gone 5-0 when they have been favored by 10 or more points. So, I mean, again, just the one thing which I say, and again, we'll kind of go into this here kind of game by game, but, one of the things which, you're kind of thinking back is, the one game which comes to mind that I truly think was kind of like a letdown game was honestly the 2018 Wake Forest game. That's the first game I really remember because that was when we had played Jamie Newman, who was a third-string quarterback, and it was at home. In the lights, and so everybody's like, oh, we should totally win that game. And honestly, if we would have won that game, we would have gotten 10 wins that year. But and again, we'll kind of go through it game by game. But I truly do think that, again, just the overall culture of NC State that Dave Doran has brought has changed significantly since the Tom O'Brien era. Because again, with Tom O'Brien, it was very much well known. He would get you anywhere between 6-6 to 8-4. He would get you win over Carolina, and he'd get you a bowl win. Well, that's it. He'll get you one big upset, and then he'll blow one big game. He'll just blow it smack out of the water. And
looking at you, Maryland.
Yeah, again, exactly. 2010 Maryland. I mean, there's no reason we should have lost to Maryland and let Torrey Smith go off on us for like over 200 yards receiving. That was so NC State that all we had to do is win one game, and Maryland had nothing to play for. But yet we still blew it. I mean, we were up, I think, 14-0 to start that game, and then we lost. So, again, a big eye roll there. But to continue on, though, again, we'll kind of go through these from Josh, and then we'll kind of bring up the schedule here. So the last 30 games as a favorite, anywhere of 10 or plus. Okay, let me back it up. So for those listening in, so in our last 30 games where we've been a favorite at home or away of at least 10 or more points under Dave Dorn's, NC State is 28-2 straight up, and they're 18-11 against the spread. So again, I mean, 28 of 30 games that you're favored with of 10 or plus more points is, I mean, again, pretty impressive within itself. And again, I think that stat alone right there just proves to you again that we take care of business at the end of the day when we are the better team. And Josh goes on, finishing off saying, and I'll let you guys talk here, saying it's a myth and honestly just silly when we look at teams, make assumptions, then talk out of other side of mouth to try and make some hot take / create a narrative out of this.
Yeah, so I'm going to say, I really appreciate content like that and stats that actually matter and have substance to them, because it's like the whole NC State stuff. We listened to that Twitter space today between David Hale and Andrea Adelson, I think is who it was.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And David Hale's the NC State guy, but Andrea was like pointing, they're asking, they started to say who's a team who could be the disappointment this year. And they're like, well, it was NC State, and the reasoning was like, well, because it's got NC State stuff. I mean, that's just the thing, right? And I'm like, well, I mean, State could be the disappointment this year, but is that the reasoning just because of like some mythical stereotype? I mean, things have happened in the past, but I think Doran has shown that that's just not the case under him. So I really appreciate this comment. I think that kind of crap needs to go away. When you see a hard and fast stat like 5-0 with 10-point favorite, that's just telling to me. So in Hunter Smith up there, I agree. You stay healthy. You have a huge season. I think, if you stay healthy, put this, let's say that even if the run game is what, average, the left tackle position is average, the pass rushing is average, I still think State is an 8-4, 9-3 team. I think it's going to take State to get use those other positions to step up and then to stay healthy for them to take the next level for that 10-11, season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and keep in mind too, as well, because Hunter Smith brings up about how there was a UNC Inside Carolina was saying on their podcast that NC State will get destroyed by Clemson and it'll be must-watch TV. Well, first of all, again, we won't even comment on that, but at the end of the day, that's not really the game we're talking about here. We're talking about the game like Syracuse or like
BC,
maybe Florida State or maybe BC this year. But I mean, again, we'll probably be favored by, I would say, 6 or 7 points.
Hypothetically, we played Duke or Georgia Tech this year, kind of thing.
Correct. So basically, where we're going to be favored by 10 or more points, or ECU, where we should not lose that game. I mean, and because I mean, again, Clemson's going to be favored. I mean, just go ahead and put it down. Clemson's going to be favored for that game. So well, again, but again, that's not what we're talking about here today.
All. I'm sorry.
So,
got me a little.
I do agree with you on that. I do agree with you on that. But yeah, no, just wanted to point out that again, we're talking about the games that State's supposed to win. And so now I wanted to kind of basically what I did was I pulled up last year's schedule and 2020 schedule. And because 2019, we're just going to act like that one that doesn't even exist. Yeah. That was just a fluke. We're not even going to pay attention to it. But looking over the last 2 seasons, I basically took the schedule and then I put here on the side. And again, for those who are listening in, I'll make sure to list them out. But basically, we put what NC State was either favored or underdog by in terms of against the spread. So just as kind of a heads up for those who are listening in or watching that don't know what against the spread means. Basically, the idea is that the number on the right, so for example, for South Florida, we were favored by -20, which what that means is if you took 20 points away from NC State, would we still win the football game? That's basically the idea of against the spread. Or for the Mississippi State game, we were plus 1.5, meaning that if you gave us 1.5 points, would we win that game? That's basically what against the spread means. So anyway, taking a look. So, I mean, the first thing that stands out to me is that let's see. The biggest, I guess, letdown of last year was Miami per the spread because Wake Forest, we were favored by 1. So
Louisiana Tech.
Yes, that's true.
Well,
I mean, we didn't lose that game. That's
Correct.
why I say
Correct.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm curious, Greg and Michael. Kind of. I mean, I know I've talked a lot here recently, so I mean, please interrupt me. But I mean, like, again, there's just not really anything that stands up here in terms of a letdown per se from last season.
Yeah, Wake Forest was the only game we were favored in that we lost, and it was a 1-point spread anyway, which is basically a 50-50 game. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I appreciate Josh pointing that out. I didn't realize that when he tweeted that. I was like, wow, really? It's like, yeah, I mean, 5-0 on the road, especially that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand why a lot of State fans feel that way. But at the same time, at least under Dave Doran, it really hasn't been the case.
Yep. Absolutely. Mackenzie, any kind of initial thoughts looking at this too?
No, I was just thinking the same thing, but it's like I feel like the NC State stuff comes about when it's like we're like we went and beat Clemson, and I feel like when State fans we beat Clemson, we're like, oh right, we're about to win the rest of these games, and then we go to Miami and play like we did against Miami, so it's like that was more of an upset, I guess.
Well, and because again, there's a couple of games too, such as the Miami game, where people say, "Man, we should have won that game."
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the two things that State fans or people need to remember is that, again, Tyler Van Dyke, we were saying, "Oh, we're not seeing Derek King. Oh, we're totally going to win that game." Well, I think that a lot of people will probably have taken Tyler Van Dyke over Derek King. I mean, honestly, and especially with how the season played out, how they upset Pitt and all that, like. Tyler Van Dyke ended up being honestly the best guy. They should have started with from the beginning of the season anyway. And then also too, I mean, that again, that Manny Diaz was really coaching for his job. So he was leaving all on the line. They had everything to play for, their entire season. Diaz's job, like their backs were against the wall. And so they made one or two plays more than we did. Cause it's not like we played even a bad game either. It's not like that we showed up and just played a dud. We just did make a couple of plays, not pointing out Devin Carter per se, but if he would have made that one catch, we would have gotten in probably field goal range. But
I'll give you two other plays that were just kind of fluky, right? Like on the field goal, we jump off sides, they make it, they take the penalty, they get a touchdown. And then I don't remember whose helmet was ripped off on the fumble recovery. We recovered that fumble. That's
Anthony Smith.
Yeah, thank you. We don't get called for that unsportsmanlike. We're already in field goal range right there. So those two plays to me are the difference of the game. You can talk about the drop passes or whatever, but if you make either one of those plays, you win that ball game.
Yep, absolutely. And then Hunter Smith goes into talking about playing at ECU, Clemson, and Wake Forest, FSU, at Louisville, and UNC. I mean, and one thing which I will say is that coming up here, not this week, but in a couple of weeks here, starting mid-August, we'll start our season predictions. So make sure to stay tuned for that as well. Hunter and Davis specifically talking about which games we can lose. But yeah, again, so basically, I think we can all agree here that at least the five of us here can agree that last year we did not have one of those. Well, we blew it games. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
From a favorite perspective, I wouldn't say we blew it. We just missed opportunities.
Yeah,
sure.
I look at that. I think the most disappointing game to me last season, honestly, was the Mississippi State game.
Agreed.
Yeah,
that was me because it was like, what are we doing? That was even Miami. We had moments. We were right there. We just didn't win the game. And Wake Forest, we had moments. I honestly, if I had to rank. I would say from most disappointing to least, it would be Mississippi State, Wake Forest, Miami.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, I would maybe flip Miami and Wake Forest just because I think Wake Forest was a more talented team than Miami.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Well, and go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you told me before the Wake Forest game that we scored 42 points, I would have said we won that game easily with the way our defense was playing.
Yeah, that's fair.
The defense did everything they could.
The only thing I would say is at that point of the season we were so banged up defensively.
Yeah,
that's true. See, remember that game though? It felt like more like to me like we were barely staying alive. In my opinion, I felt like Miami was more like, okay, we're in this, and it's kind of like been a fight. Miami was, Wake Forest was a fight, but it was like it took the Bam Knight kickoff return coming out of halftime to be like, okay, there's some life here. Okay. Okay, that's what I felt like with Wake Forest game.
That's fair.
No, that's fair.
Well, and because again, with Wake Forest game, honestly, there was so much positive that at the end of the day that I personally took out of it. The fact that, I mean, how much we fought, how much we never got out of range where it was like, we're done. Like we always, we continued to fight, even to the onside kick, which again, 50-50, that ball should have gone our way. And then we are basically 30 yards away from getting a field goal range and tying that game. Like, so, but I mean, Miami, it was just like it was a back and forth deal. And we were 1 or 2 plays away again from winning that game. And then Mississippi State was just a weird
It was a debacle
one.
because too many penalties. Yeah. Peyton got hurt. Like it was just weird. What was it? Was it a kickoff?
Kickoff. Yeah, the opening kickoff for touchdown.
Yeah, that pretty much set the tone in the negative column.
Yeah, exactly. But first of all, I do got to point out that Great Day Tar Heel just commented. I would say the comment of the year, saying, Great Day Tar Heel saying, "Yeah, I can't imagine saying quote unquote what are we doing at the end of a game last season." No, again, I think a Great Day Tar Heel and Carolina fans have the biggest what are we doing moment from last season, so we appreciate you pointing that out. And then David Jones goes on saying Mississippi State was a fluke. We played terrible. We were so close at Wake Forest to Miami. Just got to make 1 or 2 more plays. Absolutely.
That's why I say I think Mississippi State is the biggest disappointment. It was like, we just didn't.
Especially after seeing how the rest of the season played out, it was like,
for them, because they lost a couple of really bad games, like really bad games. They were like, and then they beat like 1 or 2. And we're like, what is going on with you? And we had a lot of penalties that game too. Like we never got settled into that game. Yeah. And the one thing that Coach Dorn said is, the bench didn't bring the juice, and you could see like, when you're at Carter Finley, they're up jumping around, getting, their other guys in the game, and then everyone was just kind of just standing around with their arms folded and just didn't feel like they wanted to be there.
Yeah. Now, the one thing which I will say, though, is that the defense, I would say, showed up. Offense did not.
Yeah.
Defense played well.
Yeah, because I think they got 2 other touchdowns. 17. Yeah, because they got the 1 touchdown. Well, they got the 1 touchdown on the kickoff return, and then we gave them deep off a turnover. We gave them a possession deep.
And I'm going to say this too: if you're the better team and you believe you're the better team, like we were against Mississippi State, why don't run any cute stuff? Don't get cute. Yeah. Just if you're really a better team, just run it down the throat or run basic stuff. You don't have to do any of this gimmicky like cute stuff. Prove you're dominant. Prove you're just better than them.
Yeah, you pull out the gimmicky plays when you're at a desperation that you're trying to.
And I think that's an important point. I think that as the team improves, like I think Tim Beck's play calling improved throughout the season as well, because like Mick was saying, we did run a little bit, just get too crazy with it against Mississippi State, and then as the season went on, we just ran what worked.
The only trick play that I would say that has worked well consistently for State is the reverse play to Thayer Thomas. That's the most consistent trick play we've run at State in the last 5-10 years, my opinion.
True.
And I am rocking my Thayer walk-on shirt.
There you go.
For anyone that
yes, I just noticed that. That's really nice.
Yeah.
You say you're wearing your favorite walk-on shirt?
Yeah, so it says walk-on.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Actually,
that's fancy.
And he's doing the Jordan. Remember, like he did the Jordan. So, yep.
That's fancy.
It can be years at the Red and White shop. So just letting you know.
Wow, nice little tag right there. I love it.
Right?
I love it. And then hands full, hearts full says, I agree. We should have beaten Wake Forest in Miami, but if I'm being honest, we should have lost to the UNC game.
Yeah.
Well, going into that game, we should have won that game. We were the better team. We were the better team defensively. We were probably just as good offensively. I mean, we had more options. We were playing at home. So I think before the game, we should have won the game. But yes, with how the game went, basically up until that last 2 minutes, yes, we should have lost that game. We were bad. But hey, we found a way to win.
But it's funny how the find a way to win. Works out though, right?
That's why
it all equals out at the end.
Exactly.
That's one of the reasons that I think that I don't think that we're gonna blow one or do NC State stuff this year. It's like I think like that team last year definitely showed that they're not gonna give up. Like they showed that every game, no matter what. So I feel like that 1-0 mentality is really gonna like come every single week this year. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, right? There's a reason why everyone came back for their super senior years, right? So,
absolutely. Well,
you can play the game like we should have won this game, should have lost that one, because like, you know, we were just as close to being 11-1 last year as we were to being 7-5 between the UNC game and the Clemson game. We could have easily lost those, and Miami and Wake could have easily won those, just a couple different plays. So it's just like, it's how it rolls sometimes.
Yep. That's why they say,
absolutely.
I mean, like you can't afford to take a playoff because you don't know if that's going to be the difference between a win or a loss, especially when you play as many one possession games as we do. That typically seems to be the case year in, year out.
Yep. Now, the one thing which I'll remind too is that keep in mind that coordinators are easy scapegoats. So, like, you know, Benjamin Orman says, play calling has been fine. It's been the execution of it. That keep in mind that, again, that I think we could easily make an argument that Tim Beck has been one of the best offensive coordinators we've had in some time. And I mean, again, it's kind of hard to kind of compare apples, the apples here, because obviously Drinkwitz's offense is a whole lot different from Matt Canada's offense, and Matt Canada's offense is way different from every other offense ever run in football ever. So, but I mean, again, Tim Beck, just look at his resume. Again, Tim Beck's resume, coaching at Ohio State, coaching at Texas, and then coaching at NC State. I mean, his resume is amazing. So again, it really just comes down to the execution of it.
Well, not only that, you recruit for the type of offense you play. So, you know,
correct.
you're getting a different type of athlete based on who your coordinator is. So, you know, sometimes it's apples to oranges. That really is what it boils down to.
Absolutely. David Jones and hands full. We will get to your questions, comments here. Want to kind of dive into 2020 though here real quick. So that was 2021. So 2020. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the spreads on here, but I can kind of take us through them. But the first one, which obviously stands out, which I think it can be considered your quote unquote letdown game, is the Virginia Tech game. I think we can all agree that was a letdown game. But the other thing I'll say to that too, which, you know, is obviously with Bailey Hawkman, you know, that Devin Leary didn't have an opportunity to start against Wake Forest because he was going through COVID protocol. And so it's basically, I know it's kind of tough to make this excuse really, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think that with Devin Leary, it's a different ball game. I don't think that you lose by 21.
Yeah,
I think you can clearly make that statement because, and like when you could tell the Dolphins was much different when Leary came in, and you could make the argument, well, Virginia Tech was playing a different defense with the lead and blah, 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 blah. But the offense just looked much crisper with Devin running the show.
But yeah, they look more confident and more like together with Devin as quarterback.
And just keep in mind too that Virginia Tech was actually still favored that game. They were favored by 6 points.
Yep.
So that's why it's even not necessarily a letdown game, because we weren't even predicted to win that game. So
I wouldn't.
It's more of a frustration.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that a letdown. I mean, that was our second game of the season, coming off of what were we, 3-9 or 4-8 in 2019 with our backup quarterback. So at Virginia Tech too, one of the toughest places to play.
Well, and then look what happened the next game when we played at Pitt. James Louise. I mean, what a turn of events that was. So again, I think that right, yeah. So that's why I think that I think that the justification of that we didn't have Leary start until the Pitt game is justifiable, because again, I mean, look what happened a week later. It was night and day once Leary started. So, but then looking at the other games too, I mean, obviously UNC, you lost Devin Leary the week before. So I think a lot of state fans didn't really have much expectation heading into playing UNC at UNC with Bailey Hawkman and or Ben Finley starting at quarterback. It's like a just pray and hope kind of deal.
Baby Finley.
Yeah. And then Miami, I mean, you know, that was another kind of frustrating one. But once again, I mean, Miami, Miami was favored by 10.5 points. We only lost by 3. So,
and we had a late turnover in that game where we, you know, we had a chance. We were moving the ball in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but then you can't talk too much about the offense because we scored 41 points. I mean, that should be enough to beat 99% of
I'm noticing how good. Hold on. I'm noticing how good of memory Greg has on these specific games.
Yeah,
right.
Really good.
It drives my wife crazy. But didn't Bam have 2 returns in that Miami game? Was it
for touchdowns?
2? Yeah, I know he had 1. I thought he had 2 in that game.
I think just
Maybe.
one.
Just the one.
Yeah, I think just one. I could be wrong. But yeah. So basically, I mean, again, looking at the 3 losses, we blew it losses. I mean, I think we can agree on that. And I mean, I think the one which was like a head scratcher, obviously, was the Syracuse game. Only beating them by a touchdown. I think we were favored. We were favored by 17 points. So, but again, it's just like Louisiana Tech last year. It's like, yeah, we almost blew it, but we didn't blow it. So I mean,
still got the dub.
Still green W on there.
Yeah,
still a green W.
Yeah, so
exactly.
If you look at the Liberty game, we're a Vi Jones block away from losing that game.
Yeah,
that was a makey field goal. And then the Syracuse, that's the one where Peyton ran 1,000 yards to make a game-ending sack in the red zone. So we could have lost both of those games. So going back to talking about last year, at the end of the day, it's about making a play here or there to win a ball game, and we've already said it. You can't take a play off in any of these games, and that could be the difference of a win or a loss. Because I mean, look at what is there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, 1 possession.
Yeah.
Yep.
9 if you count the bowl game. So
absolutely. Well, because another thing which I pointed to is how many games have there been, specifically in 2020, we were down at halftime and we came back and won. And because again, that's not something that you typically NC State football teams would do, specifically under O'Brien and early in Doran's tenure. Most of the time, if we had to fight from behind, we were going to lose that game 9 times out of 10. I mean, we just couldn't fight our way back. And so, I mean, that's why I truly say, starting in 2020, you started to see a different team. You started to see a team that knew how to win. They knew how to win, especially against Pittsburgh. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, ESPN FPI had Pitt as a 79% likelihood at one point during the fourth quarter to win the football game. We came back and won on a beautiful Devin Leary pass to Mecca Messi that he's thrown 1,000 times. So, that's literally become just forever concreted in our minds, the back shoulder throws to Mecca Messi from Devin Leary. But again, so basically, I think that the point after looking at these last 2 years is that I think we can agree that the statement of NC State is going to lose because that's what we do. We blow a game every year. Hopefully, that should be put behind us again. I'm not saying that we're not going to this year, but I would definitely say more likely you're not going to see that. But it's not a consistent thing every single year of that. Expect that we're going to blow a game this year. I think that hopefully should be behind us.
I think it's a different environment now.
Yeah.
I think the
fans'
mindset
if we lose DCU week 1.
Yeah. Just based off of that tweet.
I'm not riding home with my mom.
But just based off that tweet, the facts, obviously show what Josh had said in his tweet. It's just getting that narrative changed amongst the fan base. The fan base it's the sky is falling mentality. It's always kind of been that way. And so things like that, you can only keep, putting out there, and hopefully the fans will be like, okay, that really isn't a thing anymore. I don't know why we keep talking about it. And the other thing is every year the team is completely different. So it's not like you're bringing back the same people and you can expect the same results. So
true. Now, again, Great Day Tar Heel asked the question: over under 10 fights in the stands in Greenville.
Over.
Well,
wait, is that the first quarter or the whole game?
Yeah, first quarter of the whole game.
There'll be 10 fights before the game even starts.
That might even be the parking lot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're tired of it.
Yeah. Hey,
that's my mom hears me.
I know. Well, and of course, I'm gonna be wearing Tuffy Talk stuff, so I got to behave. But I'm gonna be right in the middle of a bunch of ECU fans.
I'll make sure not to wear my Tuffy Talk hat then. Sorry.
Yeah, and wear a hoodie and glasses.
Right.
Just go incognito.
That might be the one day I wear a hoodie in 100 degrees.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So the one question which I wanted to kind of jump on with the hands heart full comment is asking, do you guys feel like the national media is underestimating Isaiah Moore? I feel like he is key to our success. And the one thing which I'll say is, I mean, I think that there's a lot of keys this year. I think that, well, let's put it this way. We're a very deep team this year. Like guys like Tanner Ingle, guys like Shaheem Battle, guys like Corey Durden, Peyton Wilson, Drake Thomas, they're all big to our defense in their own ways. So that's why, I mean, like, for example, knock on wood, I'm knocking wood all over. But if, let's say, we have to go a game, let's say for targeting, let's say it's not injury, for targeting maybe. With Isaiah Moore, we have to play a game without Isaiah Moore. It wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, like our defense is going to suck now. I mean, especially, I mean, look what happened last year. We played without Peyton Wilson and Isaiah Moore for pretty much the back half of the season after Boston College game, and defense didn't really even skip a beat, even with just Drake Thomas there at the linebacking core. So, but I think it came out today that Peyton Wilson and Drake Thomas got put on the linebacker of the year award, and but Isaiah Moore didn't. So maybe that's kind of where that's coming from. Making you any initial thoughts on that?
Well, I think obviously Peyton's got the very high ceiling. Drake's showed the stats last season, getting played a full season. Are people sleeping on Isaiah Moore? I don't know if the word is sleeping. I just think people are overlooking him. I think it's not that they're just – I think he's might be a forgotten piece when you compare him to Peyton. I think Peyton is the more exciting because of the potential there, because he's got the more bigger measures. But Isaiah, man, he is so solid. Like, there's so many linebackers like him in the NFL, particularly as leaders, that are very valuable. I think it'll be interesting to see which of the three linebackers that we're talking about here has the better stats where. That would be really interesting to me. I think Isaiah is probably a better run stopper than maybe Peyton, or I don't know, but like it'll be really interesting to see what the stats are. Isaiah has so much potential, and he's going to be so valuable to the team. I don't know more than that though.
Well, I think sorry, Greg, I've talked enough. Go ahead, Greg.
No, I know you're good, man. Yeah. I agree with what Macon's saying. I think he's just old and steady, reliable. He's not the flashy guy that's gonna, make he's just quiet. He's quiet. He goes about his business quietly. Where, like you said, Peyton is kind of more the flashy, Drake is more like a heart and soul, like let's go, type thing. And then you just have Isaiah just go out there making tackles, just calling the defense out, and just doing his thing. But the one thing I will say is, to your point earlier, Leighton, we're in a much better position based off of last year to absorb something like an Isaiah or a Peyton. Like you said, if we're having to miss him for a half or a game or whatever, you've moved around your defense and you're bringing back pretty much everybody from those positions last year minus Vi. That you'll be fine. You'll just plug and play at that point. And so I don't see a drop off at any of those positions if you're required to do it.
Absolutely. Mackenzie, Michael, any last thoughts before we have to jump over here, because we only have run. Unfortunately, we were running towards the end here. Geez, time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
No, I was just wanted to say about the leader role that Isaiah plays. I feel like is a big deal on the defense. Like, I feel like he really helped Drake come out of his shell this past season, like what he said on media day and stuff. So I think people are definitely overlooking him, and I'm excited to see him show out.
I'm looking at the stats. Isaiah last season, I think he got out of he ended his season at the Boston College game.
Miami.
Miami. Okay. So he's halfway through the season, and he was on track to about, protect where he finished in 2020. In 2020, he had 94 total tackles, 3 sacks, and no interceptions. And 2021, he had 43 total tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception. So halfway through, he's, double that's 86, kind of getting near 94. He's not going to get you – I mean, he may this year, maybe just blow you out of the water. He explodes this year. But he's just a solid – the numbers back up. He's a solid, really good linebacker that maybe doesn't have as high a ceiling as some of the other guys do, but he's really going to play really well.
But let's not sleep on Mackenzie's point. I would almost argue that his leadership is almost more important than what his production is on the field. Not to take away from his production on the field, but what he brings, the intangibles that you can't measure.
Well, and keep in mind too, that's the thing I love about this team in general is there's leaders all over the field. I can look at immediately. I mean, all the linebackers. I look at Cheyenne Battle. I look at Tanner Engel. Cyrus Fakin's really come out to be a vocal leader on the defense this year. I mean, obviously on the offensive side, you got Devin Leary, Grant Gibson's, really spoken up a lot. Thayer Thomas has been big. So
and that's
again,
not what it's usually been. So that's a big change. And I feel
right.
like it's definitely benefiting the team all on and off the field.
And the next generation. That's the thing is that people are saying that the next that for 2023 that we're gonna be like have a huge drop off. But I think that with the leadership that we have, really getting the next guys ready, combined with obviously the transfer portal being the way it is too, that I mean, who knows? Again, I mean, there's no doubt that Doran has figured out a way to again create a slow and steady uphill rise. And so not to necessarily say that 2023 is going to be even better than 2022, but who knows that maybe 2023 is kind of like an 8-4 year, and then 2024 is like a we're right back into it, 10 11 wins kind of deal, like who knows. So again, it's a beautiful thing that Doran's built. We gotta love it. So jumping in here again with our last couple minutes here, we want to talk about the AC preseason poll that came out. And so for those who do not know, in the Atlantic, the media put Clemson as the favorite to not only win the Atlantic but win the ACC in general, giving them 111 first place votes, and then NC State got 44 first place votes. But they also put NC State second in the Atlantic, and then Wake Forest in third, Louisville fourth, Florida State fifth, Boston College sixth, and Syracuse seventh. And again, we won't even with Coastal, they put UNC third, and they put Miami as the favorite to win the Coastal. Not much of a shocker there, but so I mean, making you, I think you kind of say it there. That I think that pretty much sums it up. Shocker. So I mean, would you mind kind of elaborating on that a little bit?
Well, this is one of the things I wanted to have a discussion about. I mentioned earlier. So Clemson is projected to have a 10.5 win season, like over under, like 11 or 10 wins. Mm-hmm. Yep. And State is projected to have an 8.5 win season, like 9 or 8 wins.
8.5. Mm-hmm.
When you look on paper, like each grouping of players, each unit, if you will, on a quarterback, running back, linemen, linebackers, deep secondary, is Clemson really 2 wins better than NC State this season? But I personally don't think so. I think people have said that their schedule's slightly easier than State's this season, but I don't view them as like 2 wins just right off the bat better. That's notable. So I don't see them being that much greater. I look at the QB competition, and I see Leary being the better QB. I see Clemson has a better running back. I see offensive line generally has gone to NC State. Defensive line certainly is going to go to Clemson. Linebacking core, I think, goes to State, but I think Trenton Simpson's a monster for Clemson. And I think the secondary for State is better than Clemson's. So just this season, I just have a hard time seeing automatically they're just assume they're 2 wins better than NC State. I see it more balanced. The only thing I could say with Clemson is they were a 10-win team last season, and the only thing really holding them back was a decent, above average quarterback play and receiver stepping up. I mean, they did have some injuries, some key injuries, but so did NC State. So I just don't. I think if they just have a little bit better than average quarterback play from Uyunglele and the receiver step up, maybe they're 11 wins team, but I don't think they're that much better. I think it could be like a debate between Clemson 11-win team and NC State's a 10-win team, or vice versa, or Clemson's a 9-win team and State's a 10-win team. So
I'm sorry for that comment, guys. You can block her.
So for those who are listening again, so Carrie Blackwater, who I presume to be Mackenzie's
mom,
sister?
Yeah.
mom, my
anymore.
Yeah,
right. She can get out now.
She said, "My ECU Pirates will have nothing to lose," and then put a purple heart.
Just wait.
She's got the last part right. Lose.
She'll probably bring up the 1991 game here in a minute. She always does that.
Oh my gosh!
Just give her a second.
And then get out of here, great day, Tar Heel. Sorry, Macon.
No, I just don't see Clemson being a two-win better season than NC State. Right? I just assumed, and I don't remember. I can't see what the votes were, but it looks like Clemson got like 60 something, 67,
60, like 65 more. Yeah, like 65 more votes.
Yeah, that's a large gap, and I'm surprised that they view it as State being that much better. I heard some debates saying that if it was Clemson and NC State this season, like the game was in Raleigh, it may have flipped the other direction for some media members. But what do you guys think about that?
Well, the one stat which I want to throw in here real quick, and then I'll let everybody else talk, is that keep in mind that I think I saw a month ago when I was looking at kind of the betting lines that basically they had it as you could bet Clemson to win the Atlantic Division or anybody else in the Atlantic for even money. So basically meaning that you could basically bet, does Clemson win the Atlantic or does anybody else in the Atlantic win in the Atlantic? And basically you get even money either way. And it's like, I'm looking at us, I'm looking at Wake Forest, I'm looking at Louisville as the dark horse this year. Florida State could come out of nowhere this year. Phil Dracovic, is back with Boston College. So who knows? They can make some noise. Like, I'm definitely taking the field there for sure. If it's not us, I think it's Wake Forest for sure. I would not sleep on Louisville or Syracuse. Yeah, no. So that to me, that bet is blasphemous. I think that is insanity.
So, I just I'll let you guys answer. I've already talked enough. What do you guys think about that being like that much of a gap in perception right now?
I think that I thought it was going to be honestly way closer this year. Like I was really excited to see all the votes and everything. But then once I saw it, I was like, you know what? It's the media. It's State fans. Like we know they're never going to like give us the benefit of the doubt. Like that's something that we have to go out and like take from them. And I feel like I like that they put that because now our guys are hearing the hype, but also hearing the, okay, but they don't think that we're going to win it all. So they won't get too big in their heads and they'll actually go out and I guess overperform.
Exactly.
I will say, looking at Clemson's schedule, their last 4 games are like pretty solid games. You got at Notre Dame, at home against Louisville, at home against Miami, at home against South Carolina.
And I think that's the reason you got them at home, though. I think that's
yeah. And that's where I was going with it. If half of those were, it's okay. If half of those are on the road, if you take that Miami game and put it on the road, that probably flips. That win projection, that win. Their other out of conference, I mean, they cross over with Georgia Tech. They got Furman, Louisiana Tech. Yeah, I mean, you probably can say 10 wins there. Really, and they play at Wake, which, if Wake's a bigger stadium, maybe that, flips a little bit. But since that stadium is so small and it's not the most intimidating, that probably changes things. But I mean, they could lose 3 games.
Well, again, their whole season comes down to that. For me, to that Wake Forest NC State 2 weeks right there.
2 weeks, yeah.
That's a tough back-to-back right there.
It's early too.
It's early.
And I just looked this up real quick. I saw a Great Day Tar Heel ask the question: who returns more? Was it
NC State or Wake?
It's just production. Okay, so I looked it up. NC State is returning 82% of their production. Wake Forest is returning 70%.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to remember too, the defense is really where the rubber meets the road. State's defense is a ton better than Wake Forest. Wake Forest just did bring in a new defensive coordinator, so there's things to be seen there. I think they brought him in from Notre Dame, if I'm not mistaken.
But I will add this too: Clemson's returning 72%, just to give some color there too.
Yeah. Well, and that's obviously with losing their wide receiver. I'm assuming is where a lot of that percentage came from.
Yeah,
Justin Ross,
and then their middle linebacker who had been there for like forever.
Skalski.
The neck roll. Yeah.
Go ahead, Michael.
So the thing about the wins, I'll say is I don't think Clemson's 2 wins better, but you gotta when those lines are set, it's set by the sports books and casinos in Vegas, and it's like they're putting it as what they think people will bet on, right? So if they put Clemson at 8.5 wins, no one's gonna take that under. Everybody's gonna be betting over because Clemson's worst year in the last decade was 10 wins. So it's like it's about the
True.
public perception more than they actually think that,
So you're saying it's
Clemson
rigged.
is 2 wins better. Yeah.
House always
Yeah.
wins, Macon. House
Yeah.
So you're
always
saying
wins.
it really is about
House
perception.
always wins.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
No.
That's a good point, though,
So
Michael.
Yeah.
that's a very good point. Very good point there, Michael. Absolutely. All right. So now rounding it up here again, and then we'll get off here. But obviously the votes came out. Preseason player of the year, and Devin Leary, not that really matters that much, got a name, the ACC preseason player of the year. And just kind of give a little bit of insight for those who are listening in. So Devin Leary got first with 40 votes. Sam Hartman got second with 30. Tyler Van Dyke of Miami got 21. Then Breesy of Clemson, the defensive tackle, got
I think that's
14.
the most interesting of the votes, honestly, because
I agree.
he's the only non-quarterback out of the first 6 votes. I just
Right.
think it tells you how dominant
First 8.
he's going to be.
Well,
no,
and
Josh Downs.
well, and-
What do you mean first 8?
You said first. You said the only defensive guy.
Well, I'm saying he's the only player not a QB.
Oh, not
not
QB. Sorry,
quarterback.
sorry, I didn't hear that part. My apologies.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say at least. Yeah, I just he's going to be a monster. I mean, and then they bring back who's the guy's name? Tyler Davis, a defensive tackle who's injured for
Yeah.
nasty defensive line.
But I mean, Breesy's coming off of a ACL himself, so we'll see.
Tyler Davis, I can't remember he tore. He broke something or tore something. I can't remember what it was. So
yeah, but he was out for season. So,
just
but
look
again,
how good the quarterback play is in the ACC. Like it's I mean, they always get the most hype usually anyway. But I mean, you know, five of the first 6 are quarterbacks.
Yeah. Right. But I think for me, really, because I mean, obviously, there's a lot of media people out there that got absolutely bent out of shape saying, how in the heck can you put Sam Hartman below Devin Leary? And again, I don't think there's a single person on this planet that will say that Sam Hartman is not an amazing talent. That dude, he's a real deal. Like, especially like seeing him develop from his early time in Wake Forest, where he was just like okay, yeah, he's kind of good. Congratulations, you have a half decent quarterback to replace Jamie Newman. Congratulations, to being like, dang, this dude's better than Jamie Newman. Like, this dude's a real deal. Like, especially with that slow, like molasses read option play that they do. It's like, oh my gosh, like, this guy's a perfect. But at the end of the day, I think this really comes down to that if NC State wins the ACC championship, Devin Leary is your player of the year. If Wake Forest wins the ACC championship, Sam Hartman is the player of the year.
That's how it normally happens, right?
Yeah, it's like the team that wins a conference is if they have a halfway decent QB, it's usually going to be them.
Kenny Pickett won it last year, and he was the quarterback for Pittsburgh.
And the other thing I'll say is that since 2005, the media preseason player of the year has only won it 5 times. So like 70% of the time, it's wrong.
Works
so
every time.
That's a good stat there, Michael.
Yeah, and I feel like this is, I don't know, I didn't go back and look, but like I feel like Leary didn't win this by an overwhelming. Well, he obviously didn't win it by overwhelming majority, but I feel like that's a lot of players on the list that got votes. Well,
and again, I mean, so basically it was a 10-point spread between Leary and Hartman. So I mean, not significant, but not a little either. So
I will say this too. I think the perception is, I do think there's a perception that, okay, I'm voting a guy. Is there anybody better than Leary? It's probably the question. It's like, okay, he was so good last season, but it doesn't excite you, I don't think, anything else except his throwing ability. And I think that hurt. He's not like the flashy, sexy pick, right? For like a guy who can run. He's not the Uyunglele or Deshaun Watson or
Malik Cunningham.
Malik Cunningham. But I think personally, here's what I've thought about Leary. I think he is very similar comparison, you could argue, to a college version Drew Brees. That's what I think.
I do find it funny how the ACC media, not funny and haha, but ACC media definitely has more love for Devin Leary than the national media, right? So like if you see like a national quarterback ranking, and then they sprinkle in the ACC quarterbacks in those rankings, Leary's usually 3rd or 4th on that list, right? Usually, Brendan Armstrong is high, Sam Hartman, the typical names. Leary's usually 3rd or 4th. So I do find it interesting that with the ACC media, who more frequently, covers us better, that they have a higher perception than the national media. So there is that.
True. True. And then hands full, hearts full asks before we jump off to touch base real quickly on the running back situation that I know we've talked about a couple of times, but just kind of a breeze through here. The one thing which I'll say to kind of summarize the running back situation is that Doran does a great job of that. If we need a hole that needs to be filled, he will go find that hole to be filled in the transfer portal. So I think to me and to every State fan, it should say a lot that after spring ball, Doran did not go after a running back, or he didn't because I mean, yeah, we were talking to some guys, but
he didn't bring one in.
He didn't get a pass rusher, so
that too, right?
That's another thing you could say. It's like, well, does he? Maybe he just likes what he has.
Yeah. Maybe
Jordan
he truly
Houston,
believes.
Jordan Houston, I think, is going to put on a show this year, in my opinion.
So I'll take this. Go ahead, Macon. No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, no, you go ahead. The one thing I'll say, and I'm going to take a different hot take. I don't think it's so much an indictment on the running backs. I think this is more an indictment on the offensive line. If they can get holes open for these guys, I think we'll be fine. Now, if you're talking like these running backs have to make their own holes and make their own plays, might be a little bit different story. But I think for me, it's more about the offensive line than the actual running backs themselves.
Which is why it was big. We got Zavala back.
Correct.
Particularly him. But what I was going to say was, I think the one thing we're going to miss the running backs that I'm curious to see who steps up in this area is pass protection. Because I think Ricky and Bam were really good at that.
Did a good job.
And, Jordan is a smaller running back. So if he's going to be the starter, well, he probably, I don't know if that's a statement of he's your better pass protector. I don't think that's necessarily the case, which is, I think, is where you see maybe some possible talk of Demi Sumo being the guy, potentially, because he's a bigger guy. He's flashed in the passing game at spring game. But, yeah, offensive line, I think particularly your interior offensive line is going to be really strong this year. I think. Doran has hyped up Anthony Belton so far this season already at left tackle.
Good.
So.
Yeah, we need that. And hands full, hearts full follows up asking, can Houston have a Hines type season? And the one thing and the other thing which I'll say as well with the running backs is, besides Jordan Houston, who we know is going to be the highlight guy, you're going to talk about the running backs, that there's guys like Michael Allen, who's a true freshman coming in as a 4-star, Demi Sumo, which has gotten so much hype, and I think every single person that covers NC State, whether it's Pack Pride, Inside Pack Sports, Wolfpacker, you name it, has said that they've never heard as much offseason hype as they ever have heard for any player more than Demi Sumo. And so there's a lot of hype out of him. And obviously, you still got Trent Penix as well. It's kind of that running back.
Guys Samuels. You get guys at ACC Media Day still mentioning Demi Sumo as a guy to kind of watch more. So it's not like it kind of has died out a little bit, but I just think there's a lot of options there. Delbert Mims is a big guy.
Another one too.
Good running back. Michael Allen's still there, so we got good options.
Yeah, so we have options, and again, all we really need is, I mean, look what we did last year. We were basically 10 wins with basically almost non-existent running game, and also too with a lot of injuries on defense. So basically, if we could stay healthy, and if running backs can just be productive, you're right there with the best they see has to offer, in my opinion. So definitely, again, feel solid, hands full, hearts full, and then they just know that Doran did not go after somebody to replace or fill the depth of running back, which that within itself should basically speak wonders in terms of how he feels about his running back room that he has. All right, so kind of wrapping things up here. So first thing we want to mention, and actually we'll kind of show here too, is which I was kind of figuring out whether I should or shouldn't, but instead of basically getting you guys to watch it, one thing which I will ask is, if you can, go to the video that we just released today, talking about our Tuffy Talk memberships that we just released and started today. So if you can, once you finish this here, go to our channel, click on the first video you see, and it's basically a 3-minute video real quick, kind of talking about the 2 different levels that we have, our Like NC State and our Love NC State. And for those listening again, basically we today offering again our Like NC State, which is only for $2.99 a month. You get access to exclusive emojis that you can use when you're commenting on our live streams. Basically, you can use these emojis, and like one of them is the Mr. Wolf head. We put a Salty Dave emoji in there that we created, and we did a wolf hands, and we did a bell tower. And then also too, you also get what we call loyalty badges. So basically, the longer that you're a member of the channel, basically the different NC State logos that you'll get, and it basically starts from like our first ever logo all the way to the Tuffy head logo. And then the biggest thing is that you actually get access to a private Discord channel. So for all those like right now that are tuning in with us, wanting to talk with us members of the Tuffy Talk team, again, for that like NC State level for only $2.99, you get access to a private Discord channel where you can talk to all 5 of us, talk all things NC State every day, and even like during games, we'll probably do private halftime conversations with Tuffy Talk members too. So again, make sure to check that out. And then our Love NC State level is you get access to everything you get with the like, but you also get our Talking with Tuffy newsletter, weekly newsletter, where we basically talk about and break down and recap all things NC State throughout the previous week, and also give some NC State insider thoughts from the Tuffy Talk team, and also members-only videos. So just to kind of a heads up again that we talked about on the video is that on Wednesday we're going to be releasing an interview with Isaiah Shirley, a 3-star defensive end commit for the 2023 class. So we interviewed him, and that is going to be a video only for members of the Love NC State membership. So make sure again, if you want to tune in for that, make sure again to go check that out and get signed up for that. That's only $7.99 per month again. So I mean, very cost effective, a ton of value there.
Chipotle or whatever.
A ton of value there, folks. A ton of
Chipotle?
value there. So, and again, if you have any questions or whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to help. So again, definitely want to make sure, again, we want to get that rolling, and again, get as many people on there with us. Again, looking forward to chatting with you all on the Discord. And then Benjamin asked, will y'all still do giveaways this year? Yes, we will. We have been, and we will continue to do giveaways for sure.
Can I give away Greg as one of our we're just going to give him away.
Say what? What?
Take that for what you
Lottery, you can just have Greg. You just go to your
And no
house.
returns. No returns.
No, we
Yeah.
don't.
Hey, I will say, Benjamin.
Just have Michael. It's just whatever.
Hey, Benjamin, I will say we will be doing giveaways on the members only channel. I have recently bought women's basketball tickets, and I will not be able to attend all the games, so there will be giveaways in there. We'll also do some, I'm sure, outside of there, but we'll probably give the better prizes away to our members.
Yes, absolutely. So again, a ton of perks there that you will not want to miss out on. So again, if everybody wouldn't mind, please, and go into again our YouTube channel, and again, first video you'll see is basically a breakdown of those levels, so you can get kind of an insider in terms of what each is, and then also have the link from there where you can actually join the channel directly. But again, thank you all so much again for tuning in. Again, we had a lot of fun here today. Again, we're less than 5 weeks away from ECU, so keep that in mind. We're about to roll here, folks.
I'm more excited for this than my birthday, y'all. Like, y'all don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm
Love it.
excited.
It's like I can count it on one hand.
Right?
I know, you
Yeah.
can count one hand. We're less than 5 weeks away, y'all. It's crazy. But thank you all so much again for tuning in here. Make sure to tune in this week here again for the non-members. We will be starting our defense breakdown this week, so make sure to tune in for that. And again, make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, which is free to do, and it really helps support us. And then hit that notification bell so you're notified on all of your devices when we go live with any of our episodes, as well as go live for our Tuffy Talk live shows or any of our watch parties that we do later this year as well. So again, also make sure once again, go and check out our brand new channel memberships. Again, for as little as $2.99 per month. Again, you get a ton of value there that you will not want to miss out on. But thank you all so much for tuning in. As